Welcome to another episode of Just a Number, where we uncover stories that challenge perceptions of age and prove that anything is possible when we put our minds to it. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and join the conversation using whatever medium you're listening or watching this show on. Today, we are thrilled to have a very special guest. As always, we've got Phil Guastella with us today, a person whose journey is nothing short of inspiring. If you can believe it, in his early 20s, he was already making an impact, building a school and bringing sustainable farming to communities in the Amazon, of all places. So if you're wondering if making an impact is possible when you're at a young age, this is definitely a story that you need to listen to. He's continued to find innovative ways to contribute to others, to push the envelope and the boundaries of what's possible. So without further wait or ado, this is Just a Number. Age? It's just part of the story. Whether you're getting a head start or reaching new heights later on, it's all about what you do with your time. These are the stories of people proving that it's never too early or too late. This is Just a Number. Hello, everybody. I'm Daniel Steinfeld, and this is Just a Number, and I am thrilled today to be joined by Phil Guastella, a gentleman that I had the pleasure of meeting several years back. He is a fellow realtor, and we met at an open house. You were just saying we sort of happened into one another early on in
Yeah,
both of our careers.
yeah. Actually, I came to you guys put out a agent open house, so I came. I met your wife, Katie, and I was like in my beginnings of my career, so I was really learning a lot back then. I really was lost, actually, to be honest with you, because you come out of school and it's nothing like what they tell you in school, right?
Well, that's it.
And
And
that's a
and
common in this industry.
that's right.
So I been following you guys on social media, and and we've managed to build a kind of a relationship. But at the same time, you put this out there, and I thought I'd respond to it and check it out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm so happy you did, and it's funny. I mean, with this will go in a million different directions, but you're right. You're talking about coming out of school. Like we're talking school later in life for both of us, where we sort of went and it
Exactly.
was back to school after school for both of
Yeah,
us. And
I was
so,
actually 50 when I started,
no kidding.
so I'm 61 now.
Wow,
So 11 years
right on.
ago. Yeah,
Well,
so it was
that's
a
it.
big change for my life, that's for
Well, that's
sure.
it. Yeah, like who's a rookie in their 50s, right? It doesn't happen that much, but honestly, it's no, I mean you've made a great career and you've got what I mean when I read just the very Coles Notes version of your story of what you've done prior to all this, it blew me away and we had to have a chat here and I'm really excited to learn and really get my hands dirty and all the cool stuff that you did. I guess it would have been in your early 30s you were saying, right? Like,
Yeah, in my early 30s was the time where I had the experience to go to the Brazil, northern Brazil, in the Amazon. So it was a small community actually. It was about 20 families, and it was like basically you're roughing it. There's no electricity. There's nothing. You live out. You live. I lived for about a year in on a hammock. You know,
no way.
enduring all the bugs and things. You get used to it after a while, but it was a culture shock at the beginning for me. But it didn't take very long for me to adapt. That's one thing I learned about human beings. Even at that age, I didn't come to understand it at that age. But looking back now, I really understood that if you're put in a situation, you will adapt
Nope.
and you will
Yeah.
survive it.
Absolutely. Okay, so take us back here because now everyone's listening. They're all sitting there saying, "Whoa, whoa, this guy lived in the Amazon for a year." We just jumped right in there. You're like, holy crap, living on a hammock. Okay, so this is like you're like the original Survivor. This is before Survivor was a thing, you know, and before Amazon was a thing. Like you're covering all the stuff that came later. But yeah, so tell us a little bit about the community you helped and how you first got involved with them and what came to lead you to go to the Amazon for a year.
Well, what happened was that at that point in my life, I was just lost, you know, personally, socially. I'm an introvert, and I had, I always felt different than others. But at the same time, I would never voice those feelings or those thoughts.
Mm.
So I never nurtured them. But I always had this thing about helping people, right? So I remember going. Now I know we were in the Amazon, but the prerequisite for that got me to the Amazon at 18 when I used to see Children's Christian Fund on TV, and I used to sponsor $21 a month, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I did the sponsorship thing, and we got two kids. I sponsored two kids. So then at one point, and that was started at 18. At 20, I said, well, hey, it'd be probably cool, just to visit them, see what's going on where's my money going, what's happening down there, if it's really helping them. I wanted to see for myself.
Yeah.
But when I was down there, I got disillusioned, right? Because I realized that most of the $21, a lot of a percentage of that went to administration, keeping the facilities running. So it kind of turned me off.
Mm.
I didn't see, it was kind of, yeah, I know they have expenses, but then when I saw the offices that they were building, where they worked from, and I see the people, I said, it didn't. I immediately, I didn't feel good about it.
You were just
Felt good
supporting
about my
not the people you
accomplishments.
wanted to be supporting there. It was going
Yeah,
to, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And anyways, so but we stayed in contact, and it was a great feeling that I was helping them with the medication, the books, pencils, and all that stuff. But you know, that was the start, and I knew I had that in me because I all my friends were doing their own thing. I was doing something totally different,
Mm-hmm.
and so I went and I experienced that, and it was a good experience because sometimes you think everything is what you see, but in the background, it's a different reality, right? But in a small way, it does help. In a way,
Absolutely.
it does help, and it created a relationship. I had a long-term relationship with these two girls. They ended up by the time they were 4 and 5 at the time, and then we kept a correspondence over the years, and then we lost ourselves. And then around 22, we found when they were 20, 21, we found ourselves and we started communicating again.
Oh,
So
wow.
they're like yeah, have their own families now, and it was a great starting point for me to investigate why do I have this need to do this, right? At
That's
that time.
that's amazing. And also, I mean, if I'm doing the math, if you're 18, 20 years old, this is predating really the internet even at that point in
Yeah.
time.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh
when we're
yeah.
talking communicating and connecting with people on the other side of the world in
It was
third world,
letters, was letters.
unbelievable. Wow. So you were
You know,
writing back and forth and
writing back and forth, yeah. And they were writing, sending their pictures every time as the years went on to see that they were growing, and just
yeah.
keeping in touch that way.
Do,
Yeah.
do
So
you
in
still
Thailand,
do you
sorry,
still have
go
any of
ahead.
the letters? Do you still have the
Oh,
letters?
I have the box. I have
That's
everything.
unbelievable.
I still have it, and that back then we didn't have phones, so everything is on. What are those photograph? Kodak used to have slides,
Oh, slides. Yeah, yeah.
so I got all my experience on slides and pictures.
That's great. And you
So
know what? It's amazing too because to go down like first of all to take the initiative to do it in the first place at such a young age and then to follow up and say I want to see what's actually happening. I want to see the impact I'm making. And then the stick with itness of even seeing, you know what? Some percentage of my money isn't even going where I
to
intended it
where
to
I thought it
go.
was, yeah,
But you know what? But the good feeling and the impact it is having outweighs the cynicism of I'm not doing this anymore because it's
yeah,
it's paying
it's
for
a rip off,
administration.
yeah,
So that's amazing, and it led to what looks like it's become, a lifetime of contributing and having that feeling, the itch to help.
Exactly, exactly. And it comes from inside, right? It's not for everyone. And I learned that if something is pestering my inner soul or my mind, you have to investigate what that is, right? Because
Absolutely.
you don't want to miss opportunities, right? Because
That's right.
we can tend to miss a lot of opportunities, or we just
Absolutely.
don't see them.
Well, that's it. I
Yeah.
think a big theme of really this whole podcast, but definitely this episode is, you only live once, right? You've got
Hmm.
one life to do what you can with it. And if there's opportunity or there's curiosity,
Go
you
for
either
it.
chase it or you live your life wondering and
Yeah.
regretting and maybe regretting, right?
And maybe, yeah.
So that's amazing. So you had that experience in Thailand, and then was there just a little bit of a you had scratched the itch, and then it kind of resurfaced a few years later. Is that what
Yeah.
happened?
Then there was a point in my after around between I think around 22, 23, 23 to for about 5 years, I kind of got lost.
Hmm.
I got lost with direction. Didn't know what to do. I always worked. I had a job, but I just didn't know. Wasn't a happy camper.
Hmm.
I felt really good over there, but when I came back home, the reality is totally different,
Hmm.
right? So I ended up uh, having a friend of mine who is a priest who now resides in Italy. Actually, he's coming in today to Toronto tonight,
Oh wow.
and he gave me this experience. He told me I was sharing to him these feelings. So he gave me the opportunity. He says, "Wouldn't you think you want to go to Brazil?" And I said, "Sure, why not?" So I went with a friend of mine. First of all, I went with a friend with under another organization the first time, but that didn't work out because we wanted, me and my friend at that time, we wanted the experience of how really truly helping them and living their
Hmm.
lives on their terms. We didn't want any special treatment, right? And the project that was happening at that time, it was the same reality I got from Thailand. I got there, so nothing changed. Lots of money going into this organization and just being eaten up by the locals and those
Hmm.
few appointed people. And it was like disheartening. So
Yeah.
we were communicating this back and forth to the priest that sent us there. Anyways, it's a long story, but the priest confronted them. And then after they had the confrontation, we saw that there is no experience here. There's not the things that they offered us. And then there was a lot of political stuff going around. And anyways, they made us because we were complaining and asking, me and my friend John, they like crucified us. They said that we were waking up during the day, we were sleeping in, partying,
Oh
we
boy.
were in, we weren't helping what we were supposed to do. We didn't want to contribute or participate. Anyway,
And this is while
so the
you're
priest said,
volunteering. Like you're already
"Well,
volunteering there. And
I'm supposed to volunteer at my expense, right? I paid
jeez.
my way, and only because they had some program set up, but
Yeah.
everything the lumber factory was closed. The ceramic school was closed. They had all these trades learning the community so that they can learn a trade. They were so they can we can teach them. They had the facilitators there, but everything was closed. Nothing was happening. Money was coming in,
Yeah.
but nothing was being offered. So that was here we go again, I said, right? And it was disappointing. So
Hmm.
they basically kicked us out because they had to kick us out because they were going on the premise that we were troublemakers. So they kicked us out. And I made friends with a family there. They picked us up and we stayed in their house for another 3 months. So we stayed there for first time 4 months. And this is where the everything opened up for me,
Mm,
because I started meeting people. I started meeting people in the social aspect of it who were trying to educate the people in Amazon not to sell their land, right?
mm.
And at that time there was a Japanese, Italians, Americans, you name it, they were just buying off all this land, you know. And because of the lack of education the Brazilians have, a majority of them, and they didn't understand that being they were poor with this land, if you got rid of it, they were on the street. They had nowhere
Mm.
to go then. And that's was happening back then. That's why you see so many people on the street that had some equity, so-called equity for
Yeah.
that market, but then they would be convinced to sell it to these companies who promised them employment, which never happened.
Wow.
So I started seeing that, and I joined them, and I said, listen, I have to come back and really spend more time. So I spent another 4 months, and just to feel it out, how it was going, what is the issue, what's the problem, and that's how I started with them. We started a cooperative of farmers, 20 farmers. It was called Cooperativa Igarapeaçu. And I started fundraising in Canada, going back and forth the first couple years. And I remember the first time I collected 5 grand, the second time 8 grand. And that came a long way, because with that money, I ended up building with the 5 grand, a school we ended up
Wow.
building. And I be the administrator. Like, I would never do a project in Brazil and just give them the money
Well,
and
you
just
you had
leave. I
learned the
had to be
lesson.
there.
You had
Yeah,
learned and
you have to be there.
it was, I mean, to become the boots on the ground when, you weren't, I think scarred is the wrong word, but you had learned your lesson seeing the money being shipped to somebody else to administer it on their behalf. And for you to
Yeah,
take that hat and put it on, you weren't going to let that happen, right? Like
yeah, it wasn't gonna happen.
yeah, that's amazing. So you built a school right away, or at least
So
the
we
money
built
went
it.
towards a school right away.
Yeah, paid for the materials. We built the school. We had all the community helping, which is beautiful. It's like
That's
nothing
great.
replaces that. It's like there's no money that can give you what that feels like when everybody's helping each other, right?
Hmm.
And so we built it, and it was great. So they would take this was actually for mothers who had infants, that they could drop them off at this school, and because there was a few nuns that would actually help out, they would it was almost like a free our daycare now.
Yeah,
Basically
there
it
you
was a
go.
daycare, and
Yeah,
without even knowing that it was a daycare we were doing. And so we did that, and it was fine. I left. We still had things to work on. We were constantly educating them. It was a constant education. Every meetings we would have two to three times a week while I was there, because a lot of pressure was done to people from the outside, because people wanted to buy their land, right? And
right.
it's so corrupt over there. Even the government, we know, and it was hard. It was hard. It was hard on them, because they had nobody, no voice for them,
Hmm.
nobody like speaking on their behalf except for these few people. Anyways, so I went back home, and I said, well, that worked out okay. I was happy,
Yeah.
right? But I knew I have to be there to do this. So I collected, did a fundraising, just family and friends, and I got 8,000 this time. And that's when I went to we start the cooperative. So we use the money, first of all, to plant 2,000 fruit trees, because they were only planting and learning what their parents taught them from generations before, just staple items they were doing. They weren't progressing, right?
Right.
So we got the fruit trees happening, and then a system, an irrigation system we bought, total system for 2 hectares of land. We used the river. We had the water there, pump, and would, you know, all year round they would have water because there's certain times of the year it lacks. So we did that, and we got it going, and it was great. And I had this life experience, changing experience, because then I had to decide, what am I going to do with my life? I like this, I love it,
Yeah.
but back then in my 30s, you know, I had this thing when people telling me, when are you going to move on and do something for you, right? These pressures,
That's ironic to me. I mean, and maybe it is. I even saw in
isn't
your
it?
face there. I don't want to cut you off, but like
Yeah,
that's ironic that people are saying, okay, when are you going to do something for you? And from everything you've told me, there couldn't have been more of a process you'd already
really.
undertaken that was for you more than anything else could have been. Is that accurate? Like that
That's accurate, but I I I I was on that wagon too. I started believing that.
what they were
And
saying, you
that's,
mean?
yeah, I
Hmm.
started doubting
Hmm.
myself, right? And that's just created other issues for me as I was growing up, right? But I knew one thing, I did know that if I'm going to do this work, it's a lifetime commitment.
Right.
And the first thing that popped in my head was life of a priest, right? And,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
go, that's what I related it to, being brought up in a Roman Catholic environment. Priests do this stuff. I know priests that do this stuff. Is that, like, is that my calling? And I
Yeah.
said, no. I said, I don't think so. I don't think I can sacrifice that much.
Right.
So I decided, but I knew that I had to be, or somebody had to be administering these projects, not them.
Right.
And unfortunately, it went well. And as the time went on, and I decided that I had to move on with my life, slowly but surely, that project started to deteriorate, right? To the point where uh, people, locals, started taking advantage. So if you saw, like, for example, the school was became abandoned.
Hmm.
While I was there, everything was working fine. Going back and forth was fine. And then somebody just took ownership of the school. You know, it's like, wow.
Just planted their
I go,
flag, and that was it.
yeah, they just took that, and that was it, and that was okay. That's how it goes over there, right?
Hmm.
So, but what the experience, I still was happy for what I done, but at the same time, it made me realize that I think a lot of Westerners or people from North America or Europe that go there and see these people, uh, I think we're a little bit arrogant in the sense that we think that our way of doing things is good. We have to teach them how to do it, because basically they were like, when I would talk to my parents about my experiences, they said that they related to it after the Second World War, the
Hmm.
times of the Second World War. So they were like, these people would steal nails from the city park just because they needed nails. So they would tore up a bench just for the nails. Well, I was living in the community. I was living amongst leprosy. Still, leprosy was going on with
Wow.
these families. So it was like, I met through the social workers in the area. He brought me to a hospital. He brought me to a hospital, a room full of medication, expired. Never got, people never got to see this medication because it's so corrupt. So
Hmm.
going back to why I think most people think we can put our culture into them and let them understand, like, that our values, what our values are, and this is the way you should do things, is not necessarily helping them.
Right.
I realized at that moment that my reaction to the environment was not easy for me to absorb, because I found myself in moments by myself crying. How just what I seen.
Mm.
And then I realized that my tears were not, I thought they were because I felt sorry for them. There's probably some truth to that, but it really showed me how broken I was,
Mm. Well, I mean,
right?
in a lot of ways, that's it's a very strange, I think, profit benefit you got from the experience. As much as that might have been a painful experience, these are the sorts of learnings and life-changing
Mm,
things that help shape you and probably have led to experiences and reactions and risks you've taken since then. Um,
yeah,
right? It's deep stuff, right? You go there because, and for all the right reasons, and that never left you. It doesn't sound like, to help
yeah,
and to make an impact, and you absolutely did. But, to say it was transactional, I think is not true. Like it wasn't, even if it's not there anymore now, right? Even if the
yeah,
school is shut down, even if the fruit trees aren't growing, and I'm sure a lot of them are, but I mean, even if some of it is gone, you know, you were able to take from it something that sticks with you. And I think the people you impacted there, the ones that aren't corrupt, you know,
yeah.
you
Well,
know,
we still keep in touch. We still keep in touch. Now they're older. I through Facebook, I talk to them. Yeah,
well, there you go. The internet showed up somewhere in the middle
it
there.
showed up allegedly. Yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, so it was. I can draw. I can go on forever, but another experience I had was looking back now. It was when I used to meet other people trying, quote unquote, helping them from other governments.
Hmm.
So I met some Germans. I met some uh, Italians, some French. I met some Norwegians, Japanese, and at different parts of the year because the government would pay for them, right?
Hmm.
And I would see them amongst these families I was with. So what would happen was I would get to know them. But these people lived in a hotel 2 hours away. They were paid to be there. I wasn't. I paid
Hmm.
out of my own money, and and but they're trying to buy their land. That's why they're there.
That's why they're
So
there.
we would
Mhm.
have meetings, right? They would have meetings with them, and they would do their job proposal. This is what we're going to create for you. These are the jobs that are going to be available, blah, blah, which is not true, right?
Yeah.
It's all a manipulation to take the land. And so here we are. One day I'm working with them, and we were on the fields, the mandioca fields, just getting rid of all the weeds, right? And it's hot. And this lady comes. She was probably a little bit older than me at the time, and she wanted to ask me a question. She goes, like, I see you have a relationship with these guys, and how do you do it? Like we're finding it very difficult. They don't even want to see us,
Hmm.
right? How did you do what you're doing? I go, well, first of all, I paid my own way. Secondly, I'm living with them, and I'm helping them produce what they produce, which was mandioca and corn for the feed for the chickens, and and uh, and rice. That's all we would do.
Hmm.
And where they came in, they weren't working with them. They were just trying to manipulate them, and they didn't respect them.
Right.
And that was the difference.
It's a huge difference.
Huge difference. And then that's when I knew that, well, when I experienced that with her, that's when I reinforced what I was doing was right.
Hmm.
It made me feel really good about myself.
So on that note, like over the course of your time there, was there a lot of self-doubt? Like, why am I here? Is this the right thing? Like, were you were
Yeah,
you were you having moments of, I know why I came here, but now that I am here, what the hell am I doing? Like, did that happen?
yeah, yeah. There were moments. There were moments when there were moments. I got to be honest. When I missed the family,
Hmm.
and in those moments, those thoughts would come in, and those thoughts were they were supportive, right? but I didn't feel that I was like really confident in myself
Mm,
with the purpose of why I was there. I found out after why I was there, and it was really, really for an eye opener for me, for the type of character I am. That I'm a sensitive person. I'm really open with people, and when you open with people, you're a target. You can when you're really authentic, you know.
yep.
And I learned my weaknesses and my strength while I was there,
Mm,
and I knew one thing, that whatever life I want to lead is it's got to be simple. It's got to be simplified
mm,
and not get caught up in the materialistic things,
hmm.
you know,
And all the
all
noise.
that pressure, the noise,
Yeah,
the rushing. What you can't avoid those things being in Toronto, but that
true.
pressure,
Yeah.
because when I came back, I was so laid back. Now I'm nuts. I'm so stressed.
Well, I mean, in both instances you talked about, first Thailand and then with the Amazon, I mean, you prefaced it by saying you felt lost, and you didn't
Yeah.
have the direction. And the first time through, I mean, it gave you some immediate, direction and understanding of what felt good. And then again, after sort of losing yourself a bit again, this
Mhm.
rejuvenated and invigorated you. And also, like you're saying, you learned so much about what you needed and what you wanted. So in some ways, did that year in the Amazon set the stage for the rest of your life for understanding and being a little less lost when you came out of that? Or did you come out
Yeah.
of that? Sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah. It did set the stage, uh, but not till now. That's
Mm,
why I threw myself in, because uh, for up to COVID, uh, right after COVID, when the lockdown happened, I regressed a lot
mm,
mentally. So I was in the condo living, and for those 17 months, whatever it was, like I regressed. Like I couldn't do function at all. So these last 2 years, I've been building myself up, because I wasn't even practicing real estate. I couldn't do any of my real estate now business. I knew that I had to really, still struggling with the main core. Even though I learned these things over there, I still wasn't okay with me. And then I
mm.
realized that I look what I've done. That's why I'm here.
No kidding.
It's selfish. It's selfish, but I thought this would help me.
Yeah,
When we talk about opportunities, I saw an opportunity. Maybe
absolutely.
I have something to offer, right? And I'm just connecting back with that right now.
Totally. Well,
So since I've
it
been
so,
getting back, it's helping me
and you know what
move forward.
it's funny to me that you look at it as selfish at all, because the very
Well, that's how
premise
I
of
feel.
and I mean, let me be the one to tell you that this is, I mean, notwithstanding that everything we're talking about was as selfless as it comes, even sharing your story is, if this helps or inspires one person who's listening to this to either break out of their shell or to realize
Mm,
that, what they're thinking or the rut that they're in is not, you know, isolated to just their story, right? And it
right.
motivates them to get out and do something and try something, then hey, what could be less
Mm,
selfish than getting that message out there? And I mean, uh
yeah.
it's inspiring just to hear the story. It makes me want to go and if I didn't have four kids, I'd I should set up a hammock maybe in my backyard and maybe plant some trees back there. I think that's as far as I could go. But yeah, I mean, it's just unreal, that you did all that, and that I don't think that mentality leaves you. I mean, whether or not there were bumps along the way, it's not that you need to go and visit a third world country every year to keep the spark going inside of
No.
you, but I think it's a part of who you are. And it's really interesting to me that the way that you could kind of restart your engine those two times was doing something selfless and helping others and empowering
Mm,
other people who might have been pretty lost themselves at the time, right? Like you showed
yeah.
up in a place, maybe they didn't know they were lost because they were being so taken advantage of. But
Hmm.
I mean, there's just so much impact that was made, and it doesn't really, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter. That's not fair, but it's not as important how sustained the impact was, given that the impact you made can't be taken away for the time that you were there. And
Yeah,
you're still
right.
maintaining contact with these people, right? So you know that
Yeah.
they're still kicking. I don't know, like, are there any, like, these are people, were they your age when you were there? Like, were they people around the same age as you?
No, they were 4, 5 years old at
Oh,
the
like
time,
the
and
ones in Thailand were,
the
yeah.
children.
Yeah.
No, they even
Oh, and
even
in
in
Brazil.
Brazil,
Oh,
and
wow.
the eldest around probably 12. Now they're in their like 30s and 40s,
That's
and
amazing.
some are in their late 20s. Because which were the family I stayed in, they had like 12 children, and they were all young at the time, and there was
Wow.
two maybe 12-year-old and 13-year-old. Now they're a little bit older, but yeah, they were we still keep in touch. We talk on
Yeah.
Facebook and Messenger, and I'm planning to go. I wanted to go last year this summer, but I changed brokerages and things like that. But I'll be in better position next year to go and visit them.
Wow. So have you
Yeah.
seen them since they were kids? Like
No.
you haven't been
I
back
well,
there
I saw them
on
on
Facebook?
the video, Facebook Messenger, like or Zoom. We've connected a couple times,
Wow.
and yeah, they're all grown up. It's like it's incredible
Oh, see, I see.
seeing them.
I should have planned ahead and made this like one of those surprise. Guess who we've got behind door
Oh,
number one? But but I didn't know. I
from
don't.
Brazil,
Oh, from Brazil. Oh man. So I guess in
live.
Brazil, yeah, here they are, four of the kids. So is it everybody speaks Portuguese there? Is that what it is?
Yes, it's
And so
Portuguese.
is that a language you spoke before you went there?
No, I learned it, and the funny thing about Portuguese, uh, there's a difference with the Brazilian Portuguese and Portuguese from Portugal.
Hmm.
The Brazilian Portuguese, there were a lot because I'm Italian, and I know I know more my dialect from the Sicily, from southern Sicily. That a lot of our words, it's part of the language, the Latin
So
language,
it's similar.
where communication comes from, and all our dialogue comes from. They were similar, so I would pick off these words and understand and use them, right? And then slowly, it was easier to learn Portuguese than French. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, those are very different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I got to learn it. I understand more than I can speak it because I don't practice it as much. But
Hmm.
it'll come. If I go there, it'll come back. It'll come back.
So in terms, I mean, that's one example of an actual tangible education you got from being there was a whole language. I mean,
Yeah.
did you know already some of the things like irrigation and plant, like the actual skilled trade type stuff that you were doing to help there, or did you also kind of learn as you
Yeah,
went?
because when I was growing up, I went to a Humber College because I only went. I just got my grade 12. I wasn't
Mhm.
a guy who loved school, and I
But then
just
you
barely got
built one.
got through. Yeah, but then I built. That's a good way of looking
I
at it.
didn't like it, but I decided, you know what? If I don't go, I might as well
That's
build one.
funny. Yeah. So so I ended up now I lost my thought. You make me laugh here.
So sorry. So the
Um,
the skills that you already knew out of
oh
Humber.
yeah, I went to school and I took a horticultural course. I got my
Okay.
horticultural science, a night school. So I was going to night school and getting my horticultural science. Got that out of the way. Then I decided landscape design because I was in there already, and I'm a creative person, so I like creating. And I did that, but I never got my diploma in landscape design because I had a situation with my teacher
Hmm.
who it was a stickler on timing. Like
Mm.
I was like 10 seconds late to hand in a report and he wouldn't accept it. It was my last report too, which was
Oh,
part of my mark.
oh,
And me at that time, I was a hothead
yeah.
back then.
Like,
So
forget
you can
this.
imagine what happened.
Oh, yeah.
And I left
Oh,
and
wow.
I got so upset at myself because I couldn't handle it.
Mm.
That situation. Even my sister would say, "Well, go talk to the dean or whoever's in charge of Humber College," and because that's not fair. That's not, you're gonna not going to get your credit
Yeah,
because
that's
you were late on a report. That's Anyways, I didn't, and I just took it. But I regret not following up.
well.
That's a
So
mistake I made.
are you still one credit short then now? Like, if you were to go and take
Yeah,
one
I'm
credit?
still. Yeah, the last. Yeah,
Oh, man.
I never went back. I just got so demoralized, right? And
Oh, wow.
I just never went back. And
Well, you know
that's
what? I mean, talk about using your powers for good, though. You might have been a hothead, but at least, if anybody from Humber College is listening now, like, look what he did with what he learned. Even despite not getting the credit, he took it and
credit.
he helped an entire community in the Amazon with this knowledge. So that's got to
Yeah,
be worth
so I
some
put
like
it.
co-op marks or something. Like, take those
I
hours.
think I think we should send them this video.
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe there's hope for you still. Maybe that credit is waiting in the wings. Do you still have the paper? Maybe they'll take it a bit later, like, like 30 years late. No big deal. Oh,
Yeah, no
man.
big deal.
But
So
okay.
yeah, that's how I used it. I used the knowledge and how to help them, and it was pretty straightforward for me.
That's, I mean, it's interesting too. I mean, the premise of this podcast is all about, things we do maybe at times in our lives that people wouldn't consider like the norm, right? Like the whole just a
Right.
number. You did a lot of these things younger in life. We talked about how, just in the last 10 years, you've pursued a new career path, you've taken the courses, and now you're, a practicing and successful
Hmm.
realtor, and like, far be it for me to say in any way you're old. You've got, plenty of career, but like, this is the sort of thing also that you've kind of defied the odds on both sides by doing a lot of things people might not do until they've established themselves more so. This is what you did early
Right.
on, and now a whole career change. And let me just throw in there, I saw the video of your dad playing the saxophone in that
Oh
march.
yeah, you said.
Like, talk
Yeah.
about cool, like, which is even more like, you want to talk about just a number. Like, how old is he? Like 89?
89.
89
He's
years
going
old,
90 in February.
and he's in a marching band. Like, he's
Yeah,
playing,
he
what was that, a
will.
tenor sax? That wasn't even a small
Tenor
saxophone.
sax.
Holy
Tenor.
jeez. And he sounded
Yeah.
good. He
Yeah,
sounded
yeah.
good. Like,
He's right in. Yeah, he used to play professionally in Australia because that's where we're from, Australia. Where I was born there, me and my sister. So he used to have a full-time gig, and he full time gig at nights and play. And he was a lathe operator for GM General Motors at that time. So that's where he got all his musical experience. Playing big bands
oh, wow.
that back then. And that naturally, followed his steps. And when I was young, I got into music myself with
You're a drummer,
drumming,
right?
right? Like you,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. And and my sister's a singer, and my brother started playing piano when he was young, but then he gave it up. But we all have the music thing bug in us.
So
So
has there been a little jam session or two in the family where you've all played together?
way back we used to jam when we were younger because me and my sister used to be in a band. We used to tour a lot and like
No
doing
way.
hotels. Yeah, and we used to be and went from hotels like lounge music. Then next thing you know, we're doing Pat Benatar
That's amazing.
or or we're doing heart music. The
Right
old
on.
heart, great.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we
yeah.
used to do the Gasworks downtown, Larry's Hideaway. We used to go all over Canada and play these bars
No
when
way.
music was appreciated. Right now, then
I
what
know.
happened with the
Kids
DJs?
today.
Yeah, the DJs took over and
Yeah,
killed
no,
us.
I hear you. I hear you. It's that's amazing though. Like, that's these are the sorts of things it's amazing to me, just, if you just chip away like the layers to everybody, it's like peeling back an onion, like all these things and stories, like that's amazing stuff. So you toured all of Canada as a journey. Yeah, no big deal, built a school in Brazil, no big deal, whatever, touring Canada, whatever, this is
That's
like
how I was. I wasn't very, it wasn't a good time for me back then,
what
even though I was doing those things.
the music stuff. Oh, well, yeah, I guess,
No, it was a good
personally.
time in the music, but I mean, personally,
Yeah.
I wasn't okay with me. Even though I'm doing this, I
Hmm.
wasn't okay. I wasn't. When people would tell me, oh, and commend me, it just didn't. Something was wrong. That's what I was searching for. I didn't know what it was, and I just discovered it recently.
Yeah. Well,
You
it's
know?
it's you know what? It's no small feat to keep searching for it and to not give up on trying to figure it out, right? Because I think a
Yeah.
lot of people, they're lost and they stay lost, and that's it. And I think on multiple occasions, early on, you had those experiences that helped address it. And then even if you were still sort of searching for the answer, it's great to know. And you know what? There's more answers to come for all of us, right? Like
Oh,
you're
a
in a good
lot
place now,
more.
which is amazing, but so nowhere to go but up more, right? So
Yeah,
that's
that's what I'm hoping for.
yeah. So I mean, if there's people that are listening to this now who maybe are in a similar spot, right? Whether it's earlier on in their career or later on in their career or somewhere in the middle, what sort of advice would you give them if they're feeling a little bit lost, or there's things they think they might want to do but they just don't believe it's for them, or it's not the way that the script is written for them?
Yeah, I would say if you're still feeling, if those feelings don't go away and you still haven't figured it out, you got to sit in it, and eventually you'll figure it out.
Hmm.
You can either distract distract yourself, which I've done, and years go by and it's still here, and that could be through partying, drinking, drugs, whatever you choose your addiction is. Could be workaholic. It could be obsessions with being obsessive compulsive. Everybody goes one way or another, not to avoid what's
Hmm.
really going on, right? So I learned that eventually, because you're in a state of suffering when you're in that moment, in those moments where you're lost. So eventually that suffering is going to catch up to you, and it's
Hmm.
going to guide you in the right direction.
Hmm.
I found with me, just one day I woke up and I just said, that's enough. I'm not suffering anymore. I'm and and things just got better. And it's funny when you actually make that, when you actually say that and you really believe that, it doesn't take very long for an opportunity. You see clearly, hey, I
Hmm.
got an opportunity. That's what happened with this.
Yeah.
That's what happened with this.
Yeah. No, the
When I
universe
read
does.
your, I
Yeah.
just said, I was in that moment. I go, and usually I'll think about it. And this time I just acted.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes just
I
do it. That's right.
just
Yeah.
do it. Nike has it. Nike has the
They were
best
onto something.
logo. Just, they're onto something.
That company,
Just
I think they might make it, that company. There's something to that company. I think they're gonna do okay. Yeah. That's
so
no.
yeah, I would just say sit in it, be honest with yourself. Eventually you'll come around. You'll have to come around, because if your whole my whole life it was to better myself. I always knew I wanted to improve. And when you have that mentality, I want to be better, man, it's not easy sometimes,
Yeah,
because you'll be confronted with things you have to look at, right?
absolutely. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay, well, I mean, we're coming up on an hour here, and I could talk for hours more with you, but
Yeah. Yeah.
let's sort of ask you, like, what's next for you? Like you're now in a great spot. I mean, maybe this is now you can put it in cruise control because you've found that sweet spot. Are you now I mean, you said you're going back to visit I'm still going to call
Yeah,
them
I
the
would like to
kids.
go next year is the plan, to go and visit them, that's for sure. And we'll see if what's going on there. I know I do contribute in with my work, with the children's hospital. I still have that part of me, and but definitely want to go see. And I don't know what's gonna happen, but we'll see. I don't know what's gonna happen when I go back. You
Yeah.
know, it might start another project. Maybe I'm in a better position to, or
Yeah.
more time on my hands to actually help them, where before I was trying to figure things out. Right?
Yeah, I was wondering that because you've been, it seems like, and maybe it's not the case, but it seems like when you land somewhere and see something, it kind of revs you up when you weren't expecting it to. So maybe you'll get there, see them, and be like, "Oh man, I'm planting my flag here again for 6 months. Who knows?" But
Who
no,
knows?
that's
Who knows?
I definitely am going to be looking forward to seeing some pictures of that reunion. That's it's such a cool
Yeah,
story.
for sure. For
Um,
sure.
and yeah, no, that's it's been amazing hearing your story, and we're
No,
going to be
thanks for
chatting.
having me.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
we'll
I
we'll
really
chat more for
appreciate that.
sure. I mean, this is it's exactly what this is all about, is just like the amazing things people do that are right under our noses that, who'd have known, right? I'm sure, I don't know if you've told that story much before to anybody, but it's
I would tell it when I was fundraising, my
right.
experiences fundraising, but I'm not that type, right? And I'm uncomfortable. It makes me uncomfortable. I'm just getting comfortable,
Yeah, well,
to
I
be
mean,
honest with
it's
you.
it's definitely, I'm happy you were comfortable enough to tell it today and to talk about it. It's a
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
cool bunch of initiatives that you've gone through. And, as it also kind of speaks to the power of one person too, which we didn't even talk about, where, you're talking
Mm,
about governments sending people and all these corruption and
mm,
all these things. And I'm sure there was help, and I'm sure there were people around you that were doing the work with you, but you were really one person who made
mm.
a decision to go against the grain, to go against big organizations and get something done. And it paid off. So
It
congratulations
paid
to you.
off, but I had to learn really fast, Daniel, because while I was there were so many bad actors trying
Mm,
to be my friend,
yeah.
and I figured that out really fast. And they
It's
will. They made me. They actually prepared me for that.
that's
And
well,
then when
that's
it
it. That's a
started
weird.
happening, it was like, wow, because if I had an ego, then part of the corrupt people.
Mm, yeah, well, that's it.
It's so easy to get lost.
Oh, it is. And that's it. It might have been on another part of the world, but it's a microcosm of the rest of the way we live everywhere now. You really got to
Yeah,
watch who you're dealing with. You've got to,
yeah,
protect your own, know what you're there for, and stick to your values, which is not an easy thing to do because there's a lot of
yeah,
temptation everywhere and a lot of people telling you things that you might want to believe but really shouldn't. So
yeah,
you
exactly.
you made it
Yeah,
out the other side though. We're here,
yeah,
and yeah, so that's awesome.
yeah.
Well,
That's a good thing.
so if people want to find you, I mean, let's give you a plug here because people are now going to be interested in probably, buying and selling all their houses with you also. So if they're
Oh
in,
yeah.
if well, like let's make sure that if people want to find you, why don't you tell us your website or any of your, social
It's
media handles?
philguastella.com is my website. I'm with Remax Realtron Realty. I just got there about a month ago. So I've been really busy rebranding everything and getting things going. It hasn't been an easy transition, but anyways, I'm almost there. And we're gonna. I feel good about my move, and I like the support at the brokerage. And this is it's my year.
I,
It's my year
I
coming up.
like that. I like that. That's the words to close on there. It's your year. I believe it. And
Yeah,
let's
and I really can honestly say for I've I've said it's my year in my head, but it's not the same as what I'm feeling right now
that's
for
right.
sure.
Say it out loud. Say it loud, say it proud.
Yeah,
It's your year. Right on.
yeah,
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. This was awesome. And honestly, I do think a lot of people are going to take some really positive messages out there, and you've inspired a lot of people. So thanks again.
yeah. And thank you for allowing me this platform to do it.
Yeah, it's absolutely my pleasure. I look forward to speaking more.
Okay, all
All
right.
right.
Take care,
Yep.
and we'll talk soon. Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
Take care.
Daniel.
Bye now.